Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Villa View. Dan Bardell is still on assignment, as we like to call it, so I'm filling in for him again today to chat all things Aston Villa versus Leeds this coming Wednesday in Villa Park. And thankfully, I have the wonderful Chris Dolan is going to be here as well to chat through this with me and give us a lowdown on this Villa Leeds game on Wednesday night. Are you looking forward to it, Chris?
Yeah, I'm actually. Leeds obviously aren't quite the Leeds that we came across. I'll probably get clipped here and we'll get an absolute drubbing. But certainly the Leeds setup it doesn't seem quite as on point as it did when they came up last season. But yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it. It's been 2.5 weeks. I think in a way it's come the winter break's come at a good and a bad time for us. I think, listening to Gerrard when he first came in, probably hasn't really ever had a proper chance to really work with the squads. We were missing Martinez, Buendia, and Coutinho, but 90% of that squad was still there. And as you said off camera, hopefully a lot of work going into the Ings, Watkins, Ramsey, Douglas Luiz, John McGinn setup. So I think it'll be feisty. Still no love loss after what went on in the championship a few seasons ago. And anytime under the lights at Villa Park will always be tasty.
Yeah, there is something, obviously the famous Villa Park lights that used to be there previously, but there is something about a midweek game at Villa Park. And you always see the fans kind of get up for it, and I'm looking forward to this raucous atmosphere because, as you mentioned, there is no love lost, and all over a pretty innocuous situation that involved Bamford and Conor Horan, and fans don't forget things like that easily, and then it kind of spills over into the media with Agbonlahor, Gabby, and Danny Mills, sniping at each other. So this one does have that kind of pantomime kind of needle to it. I don't think either of the two teams particularly dislike each other in any way, shape, or form, but it does have that kind of box office kind of feel to it whenever Villa play Leeds, particularly since they came up with each other through the championship and had those battles there too. But before I suppose we go into the triviality of an awful lot of things that we spoke about there is, a bit of a somber event happening during the game. And I think it would be remiss to go too far into the podcast without mentioning it. But an 11-year-old boy, Archie Hughes, some of you guys may have heard, passed away recently. Very, very unfortunate circumstances, an asthma attack. By all accounts, really, really good kid, massive Aston Villa fan. And on the 11th minute, there will be an 11th minute applause for Archie. And, if anybody's making their way to Villa Park, there wouldn't be a better way of sending off who, by all accounts, was an absolute top star of a child. And, so get clapping on the 11th minute and clap Archie all the way up to heaven. But and clap the team on as well after that, because heartbreaking stuff there.
So many of these stories that you hear, especially in the Aston Villa community, so it's heartbreak. So God rest his soul.
Absolutely. And hopefully the Villa team can do him proud on the field as well. And as you mentioned there, Chris, previously, that like a lot of that team was in Bodymore Heat, and it will have been training and they will have been getting at it. And we seem to be pretty much injury free at the moment. But when you look at that Leeds team, Leeds have been searching for some sort of stability over the last few weeks. They've had a lot of injuries, a lot of COVID, and they were one of the teams that tried to brave it out. Like, do you, I suppose it's going to be impossible to kind of tell what type of team Leeds are going to put out, but, do Leeds still have the allure that they had previously, even considering they weren't able to go away and sign anybody in the transfer window?
Yeah, I think, I still think regardless of the starting 11 they'll have, if it's their first team or if it's players, obviously we know they're missing Bamford, Phillips, to name a few, two key players that tend to always perform against us, but they're just they're a real hit and miss. They've been a real hit and miss team this season. I mean, their last 4 or 5 results, 7-0 against City, battered 4-1 against Arsenal, and then of course we were due to play them after the Arsenal game, I was very much looking forward to, and it got postponed. So, but then they went obviously to West Ham, and I thought put in a phenomenal away display against West Ham, and it was almost the Leeds that we have came to recognise under Bielsa. But as I said, hit and miss, follow that up with a 1-0 defeat against arguably one of the worst teams in the division at home. So they're certainly there to be got at. I believe they've conceded 10 goals from set pieces. I think if you look at clubs that we've played over the last few weeks and got something from, Leicester being one of those teams, Palace being another teams that have been really, really, really shaky at the back. We've done our homework under Gerrard, and we've really, really exploited those areas. Target scoring from a set piece against Palace, Collins is scoring from a set piece against Leicester, and now we look at the Leeds stats, and yeah, 10 goals from set pieces is certainly something that we can exploit. So they're certainly there for the taking. We're coming into such a crucial run of fixtures, in my opinion. I think these next 4 or 5 really determine whether or not we can break into that top 8 this season. We've got the likes of Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton, Southampton, West Ham, Arsenal. So there's games in the next 5 or 6 that we need to be really picking up points. And there's never really been a doubt of our attacking prowess this season. It's just being able to keep clean sheets. We can't seem to keep clean sheets, and hopefully we can build on that performance against Everton. And although it did seem like a lifetime ago, certainly showed a real resilience and bite that Gerrard's trying to instill in the squad. And let's see if we can go one better and take it to Leeds on Wednesday night.
And you mentioned about clean sheets there, Chris. Obviously, if we are to keep a clean sheet, there's probably 2 names that jump off their team sheet to me that we're going to need to keep quiet. And it's Rafinha, who is just like a sparkler of a player at the moment, really ripped it up for Brazil during the last 2 weeks as well. But also a guy that kind of haunts us in many, many ways, and Jack Harrison. And I'll never forget that game at Villa Park last season. Was it last season or was it the season before? Whereby he just
last season,
last season, the 3-0 where he just hugged the touchline, and they basically just switched the ball to him, and he destroyed us on his own. Although Bamford got the goals, he destroyed us on his own. How do you think Aston Villa are going to cope with those 2 players, considering the fact that we now have 2 really attacking fullbacks?
Yeah, I mean, also I think you got to throw Dan James into the mix as well. Yes. I think that Dan James is a player that I've admired, a player that I like. But yeah, Harrison's been a real mainstay for Leeds since the Championship days, and came through the Man City youth setup, but didn't play for them at all, I don't believe. But it'll be. Again, he's quite hot and cold. I thought he ran the game against West Ham away when they beat them 3-2, and then I thought he was bang average against Newcastle. So I think he kind of sums up Leeds at the minute. When they're good, it tends to go through him, and when he's having a quiet game, he hasn't got the likes of Phillips beside him to drive that real extra bit of quality. And I think if he's having an off day, then Leeds seem to have an off day. And I think all what's good about Leeds this season, I'm sure Leeds fans will probably be able to tell me more. But from what I've seen, all of what goes through Leeds that's good comes from Jack Harrison. And listen, they've got quality, as you say, Rafinha, Harrison, Dan James. So they can still do some damage. So we need to be really, really on our A game as always in the Premier League. But I mean, I think it's two teams that want to attack, and if we can play through the lines and we can keep the fullbacks wide, keep them wide, and then use our, again. But then you list off the players that we have: McGinn, Coutinho, Buendia, Dina, Luca Dean, Cash, Luis, Watkins. I mean, it's full of quality. Jacob Ramsey, absolute quality throughout. So we're certainly, if we can hit the heights that we've hit under Gerrard over the last sort of month and a half, 2 months, then we can definitely get at them for sure.
Yeah, I think Ramsey is going to be pivotal in keeping Rafinha quiet. Because I would say, looking at their projected lineup, Rafinha is the worry for me. I'm going to say that my rational fear player with that team is obviously going to be the Cookstown Cafu in Stuart Dallas at left back. I'm delighted to see him at left back and not in the midfield. Well, I hope he's not midfield.
Is he from Kirkstown? Is he from Kirkstown?
He is, yeah. He's from Cookstown. Yeah. The
Kirkstown sausages. If you're listening, George Best, Google George Best or put George Best in the YouTube. George Best did an advert for Kirkstown sausages back in the late 60s, early 70s, and yeah, Kirkstown sausages are dreadful. They're grim, but no hard feelings towards anyone from Kirkstown. But yeah, the less said about Kirkstown, the better.
we move along quickly before we're taken down. But Stuart Dallas can score from anywhere, and it's really strange because he's somebody who's blossomed late, but hopefully he will be at left back and won't be in midfield because he seems to do a lot of damage against us in midfield. But stopping Rafinha is definitely going to be assignment number one, I think, for this Villa midfield. And I think Jacob Ramsey might be the man to do it, because we've seen him. Jacob Ramsey has really developed into a two-way player. And what I mean by that is he's as good going back as he is going forward. And he's developed that goal scoring kind of touch to his game as well. And we even saw it in the behind closed doors game against Molde as well. He got a goal that day. And
absolute quality. I mean, as you say, with Ramsey, he seems to be two-footed as well.
Yes. Which
that goal against Norwich, I'm pretty sure was on his left peg, and then the wonder strike against Molde was on his left peg. So I mean, he really is. He's just getting better and better and better. He is a privilege to watch, and just so proud that when you think you've lost, probably the best academy graduate ever in Grealish, then another one literally within months comes through and is as exciting. And as I touched on a few weeks ago in the podcast, nothing against Grealish, obviously, because he's world class, but Ramsey's cutting his teeth in the Premier League, and he's running his trade in the Premier League. And to do that at his age, was he 20 years old? I mean, he for me, thinking about Ramsey in another 12 months, I think he is frightening, but thinking about what kind of player he could be in the next 3 to 5 years, and he still isn't even at his peak. So it's up to him, it's up to him whether or not he wants to, because he can be anything. He literally can be anything he wants to be. So again, if there's anybody that's if there's anyone that you'd want to work with him in world football, it's Steven Gerrard. So let's hope he can bring the best out of him, because he's got everything.
I know we're going massively off topic here, but with the World Cup being in November, and there's always a bolter. We've had the Theo Walcotts go with World Cup squads previously. So always somebody that kind of jumps in there out of nowhere. I'm not saying he will be, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Gareth Southgate doesn't see a two-way player like that and Jacob Ramsey and go, you know what? He could be the 26th, 27th man. I don't know how many people. Ireland never get to World Cup, so I don't know how many people you can take in your traveling party. So he might be that last guy that gets in there, maybe for that experience.
I know what you mean, but I mean, Konza. We thought that about Konza. It hasn't happened. I still think Cash, before he went to Poland, should have been in and around that squad. And it's interesting because, like, how long did it take Grealish to break into that England squad? And for me at the time, he was one of the best players in the league, and it took him forever and a day to finally break in. He'll walk into the England squad now, and he's nowhere near the form he was at when he couldn't break the squad, say 2 seasons ago, when he was at his peak for us and he was running the show. And he still couldn't get in the squad. He moved to Man City. By all accounts, hasn't performed anywhere near the levels that we thought he would do, and he'll walk into that squad. So, unfortunately, with England, it's always going to be what club you play for, and how big the brand is, because for whatever reason, players don't seem to be picked on current form. Because if you're picking players on current form, then Ramsey has to get into that squad, and as does Ezra Konsa. So Ramsey, I mean, I don't want to start talking about England squads yet, because I think we just have to focus on
him for us,
on getting that consistency for us. But you look at the Leeds game last year, and when we beat them 1-0 at their place, and he was in the starting 11. So again, he's been in around that first 11 now for the last season and a half. Kudos to Dean Smith, because he. I know he went out on loan, didn't he, Ramsey, just before COVID, and he came back.
With Doncaster, I think, wasn't it?
Was he at Doncaster? I think he only had a couple of games at Doncaster, so he's never really had a proper loan spell. But you look at what Dean Smith's really brought through this year, and it's Ramsey and then Archer. Just talking about sort of youth players coming through. Archer looks like he really is going to be a special player for us. And I know he's playing in the Championship, and it's a real level. It's a real level. Like, the gap in class is quite frightening. Mm-hmm. Although you've seen some shocks in the FA Cup over the weekend, but overall the gap in class is huge. So I'm not going to get carried away by Archer, but you just looking at the way he's kind of dropped down to that level, and yeah, the goal he scored against Hull was top class. So yeah, Ramsey, Archer, there's quite a few real sort of shining lights coming through the academy at the minute, and it's a joy to see. It's a pleasure to see.
Before we get on and talk a small bit more, I suppose, about what Aston Villa are going to have up their sleeve, just for everybody there's a podcast partner for this podcast tonight, and that is Boohoo Man. As you'll be able to see there on the screen, you'll be able to get an extra 10% off all Boohoo Man menswear with the code VillaView, and that also it excludes some lines, but just use the code. That's all I'm asking you to do. Go ahead, buy yourself some nice clobber, and the guys here will do you a solid and get you 10% off by just using VillaView code at the checkout. So thanks so much to Boohoo Man for being a podcast partner today.
You should have stuck some paper over your Kappa logos there, mate. Censored.
Forget all about that. Yeah. Producer Adam, blur all those out there. I don't know, but I do have. Look, if anybody wants to go and get a lovely hoodie. This is a NASA hoodie there. I can't show it up because it's inside out, and I don't want to take up too much time. But I did bring it with me. I just realized I forgot to put it on beforehand.
You're grand. You're grand now. You're grand.
Before, as I said, before we were doing that, we were talking about Aston Villa and about what Villa might have up their sleeve, and the front three, I suppose everybody's just the team sheet's going to be announced. Everybody's going to go straight to the front three and see who's going to be playing there. Obviously there was rumors that Emi Buendia was injured. They look to be false at the moment, considering he's been plastered all over AVTV for the last 24 hours. Obviously Coutinho is just back off scoring that wonder goal for Brazil. And then the big question mark is, who does Steven Gerrard fancy up top? And with the two games that we've played behind closed doors, do you think that those two games have told us anything, I suppose, about who we can expect? No. Granted that Watkins scored twice.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the starting 11 in those. I mean, I guess it's pretty much Olsen. Obviously, Olsen was in goal, and maybe bar Coutinho, Buendia. It was pretty much full strength, but. No, I think those games were just purely match practice, to keep the match sharpness in the legs. But something tells me that Gerrard's the kind of manager that plays players that he trusts, and there's something about Ings that I think, as Dan mentioned it a few weeks ago, I think, and I agree with him actually, is on the transfer video that we put out. I think he just edges Ings. I think he just edges Ings over Watkins, and I think it's just purely based on the fact that he knows him more as a player, and he's had a spell with him at Liverpool, and obviously his record speaks for itself. But yeah, it's a funny one. Something I don't like saying it, but something tells me that Watkins might not be with us next season. I don't know why. I just have a feeling, he was obviously he was a Dean Smith signing. He obviously, Dean Smith brought him through the ranks and then brought him to Aston Villa. But I don't know, something just just tells me that he might, because he's too good to be sitting on the bench, and he's not a wide player for us. It doesn't work when he plays out wide, and it doesn't work with Ings. Him and Ings they haven't gelled so far this season. So I hope I'm wrong. I love Watkins. I really do. I think he's been brilliant for us over the last season and a half. But I don't know, something just kind of tells me that that he might not be with us, and I really hope that that I'm wrong. But yeah, there's the team from Saturday. So yeah, pretty much as we thought. Though there's Chambers was obviously in there. Konza didn't play on against Molde, so I don't know. There's been no word on that. Have you heard anything regarding Konza's?
No, haven't heard anything.
absence?
But obviously he did get that bang in the hip just prior to the international break.
No, but he played against Everton though, so
Yeah.
he came through that game unscathed. But yeah, could be a precaution. Let's hope.
So maybe so, yeah, because he would be a big loss, and it's just the one area still, even with Callum Chambers in, it is the one area that you would not like to see us pick up injuries in, because much and all as I love Courtney House, and I think the Callum Chambers can definitely contribute. The drop off from Mings and Konza to a House and Chambers partnership, albeit not seeing what that has been like, what that would be like on the field, on paper, and based on what we know from them in the Premier League, the drop off for me would be probably the steepest drop off of any partnership or area in the pitch, I think, for me. And that's not saying that they're going to be particularly poor. It's just obviously, that Mings and Konza are starting centre half partnership, and you want to see them play as many times as you possibly can, because successful teams are built on a successful centre back partnership. You even go back as far as Pallister and Bruce. You look at Adams and Keown, Adams Bold. Like all these defensive teams have those.
Ferdinand. We had a few. Larson Melberg for us when we were in the pump under
Keelan McGrath.
Exactly. Yeah. That was quite a formidable duo. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think people give Mings a lot of stick, but for me, Konza's probably a better defender, but he's a much better defender when he plays alongside Mings. And I think a lot of what Mings does goes unnoticed. And unfortunately, with Mings, he is prone to an unforced error, and his tend to be a lot more noticeable than others. But I still think he's a top defender. And there's not many top centre backs in our. You look from say Brighton downwards. What centre back would you take from Brighton downwards that's going to come into Villa and make us better? I can't think, but it'd be interesting to sift through those central defensive pairings from say Brighton downwards, and just sort of have a little look and see who would Mings walk into their team, or who would we take from a potential duo. So I think it's all about, I think football players, I think it's about complementing each other, and I think Mings and Konza, they complement each other very, very well, and I think that they both make each other better players, that's for sure.
I'm going to go back up top again, up to the 210 positions, because something just jumped into my mind. In the event that Coutinho or Buendia can't go, do you think this is maybe based on the fact that Leeds might have, breaking fullbacks in Ayling and Dallas? And I go back to my irrational fear of Stuart Dallas again. Do you think maybe this might be a game that Ashley Young might come in for, provided that both of those the 210s are? No, you don't think so?
No. What, you think Young will come in and what ahead of Carney
maybe, or someone like that?
No, I can't. I can't see Carney starting.
No. Sorry, no, not. But I'm saying if Coutinho or Buendia are unfit for any reason,
unfit.
Start,
no, I think if Buendia and Coutinho are unfit, then he'll go Watkins. He'll go Watkins out wide. I think the midfield three tends to pick itself. Louise, McGinn, Ramsey, the back four picks itself the minute. No, I think it's quite. Unless he changes the formation, I don't see him. No, I don't see him starting Young. I don't. I think Young was a player that he leveraged on quite a lot when he first came in, and probably still does in terms of in and around the dressing room. But no. I think with us now, it's play your best 11, and we're at home on Wednesday night, and we have no excuses, and we have to take the game to Leeds. And maybe if we're playing at Elm Road, then it might be a different story. But I think if one of the 10s drops out due to injury or whatever reason, then Watkins comes in.
Yeah, it's probably the safer bet. I was just thinking maybe the fact that that Ashley Young can probably drop back in and make it a flat 4.
Yeah, but then he can play. Then he can play Ramsey. He can play Ramsey further forward as a 10, and then bring in Sanson or Carney in the middle. So
Sanson. Yeah.
So there is that. If for me, if Young plays anywhere, he comes in at left back. That's the only place in the pitch I can see Young in terms of if there's if Dean is injured. I think he'd probably still prefer Young at left back. But no, I don't see him starting further up the pitch as a 10. No, I don't.
No, it's just something that popped into my mind. But it's going. I think it's going to be a rip roar of a game. I think it's going to be end to end. I don't think. I think in a way that Leeds are beginning to get players back, trickles of players back. Like Forshaw in midfield has been very, very good for him since he came back. He's kept the likes of Click out of the team. When Phillips comes back in, they're going to have a real selection dilemma there. Do they keep Forshaw in there? Do they put Phillips beside him? They've got Robin Koch in there as well. Striker, ain't they? Don't look like they're going to be moved from the 2 centre half positions. So they're still going to have a really good team out. I think Tyler Roberts being up front on his own, maybe with Rodrigo behind him, that's probably the area of the field, which is a good point for us. A lot of work in there between those two guys. But, obviously Bamford is a huge miss for them this season. And if we can really corral Rafinha and keep him quiet, which is easier said than done, we should go a long way to winning this game, I think. And I think the aim should be to win it. It should be to win every game.
I think so. I'm just looking at their sub bench. Their last 11 when they played Newcastle. There's no one on that bench bar Roberts that I know of at all. But still, Mesler, Ayling, Llorente, Dallas, Strike, Rodrigo, Koch, Harrison, Klitsch, Rafinha, James. I mean, there's still a lot of talent in there, I think it'll certainly be a really, really, really tight game. But again, if we can get at them and start, I think for me, under Gerrard, I would love to see a complete performance. I'd love to see a first half and a second half performance combined. I feel that this season it's been either a really strong first half or a really strong finish, and I would just love to see a complete performance. And if we can like anytime if we can get an early goal and go 1-up, especially with the backing of Villa Park, then I really fancy us. But what are you saying? What's your prediction?
I've done 2 other Leeds podcasts today, and I've said 3-1 Villa in both of them. So okay. I'm going to stick with 3-1 Villa. I just think Steven Gerrard is he must have them kicking the leather off the ball and trying to take, paint off the post, trying to I think target practice is going to be huge. I think working the ball into the box has been huge over the last week. We're in the unenviable position whereby we have had quite a decent squad there for 2 weeks and 2 weeks off. Yes, as you said, we're missing the Argentinian and the Brazilian boys, but even at that, Luis didn't go anywhere. So I think there's quite a lot that the team could have done, and there's quite a lot they could have worked on. It's the first time Michael Beale would have really got his hands around a lot of those players in one big sitting and been able to do it. So I think these last 2 weeks are worth their weight in gold to this team, and I think we're going to come out all guns firing on Wednesday.
But even the players that went away, Coutinho went away and sort of worldly and got more game time. Buendia got his first cap for Argentina. He's going to be walking on water. He's going to be feeling top of his game. Martinez again was sensational.
Still haven't lost with him. 15 games, 15 wins.
Just sensational. So again, he's on cloud 9. So they've gone away, and for me, it's only gonna have done them a world of good. I think Coutinho, the kind of player for me that just he's that good. That does he really need to be coached? I think with him, it's about it's about game time and about match fitness, and he got that, and he scored a worldly, and so that'll be again, seeing him again. Like, it's still hard to believe that we've got Philippe Coutinho. It's hard to believe that we have him in our team, because you sort of think, Coutinho, like, it's just because it's been 2.5 weeks since we last saw him, and very, very strange. So still just buzzing to see more of him. But I'd probably sit in around with you and in terms of a Villa win. I want to say 3-0, because I really, really want to build on that clean sheet. And for me, clean sheets at the minute are for us are vital, because we got to stop letting in sloppy goals. We got to stop making hard work of it. If only we'd have cut out the mistakes against United, then we'd be looking for 3 wins in the spin against Leeds. So I really, really fancy this, and it's a game that we should be winning. It's a team that have been in and around us all season. And bar Brentford, Gerrard's had a pretty flawless record against teams that are in and around us. So I'd like to think we can carry on and get 3 points, and onwards
and upwards, as you say. And yes, it will be 2.5 weeks since we've seen Aston Villa play. It feels like, and because we've just coming off a loss, it feels like we've we're a teenager, we've done something bad and we've had something confiscated from us, and we're getting it back after 2 weeks, like we've been grounded or something. We get to go out and we get to enjoy Aston Villa tomorrow.
Do you say off the back of a loss?
No,
beat Everton.
Did I say off the back of a loss? I meant off the back of a win. Sorry,
I
did say a loss, because we were riding on the crest of a wave, and then it was, and then obviously we have to wait 2.5 weeks now. And I just realised that a Coutinho jersey has been hanging up there since I got it, so I didn't even wear it against Everton for the Everton game. So I didn't go and
keep it there.
Airing out. Yeah,
keep it there.
Maybe I should. Maybe I should. Superstition.
Just in case.
I don't even know does it fit anymore. I can't even remember what I ordered. So it's been 2 weeks of plenty of eating anyway. But that'll all be forgotten when Aston Villa beat Leeds on Wednesday night. So I think that's going to do it for us. Just before we go again, as I say, guys, just to remind, 11 minutes into the game, there will be 11 minutes applause for Archie Hughes. So anybody going to the game, best of order for that. Lots of applause, and let's send the kid off in the way that he would have wanted. And as I say, lastly, there is podcast partner with the podcast today. That is Boohoo Man. Villa View at the checkout gets you 10% off, and use it. Don't use it sparingly. Use it as many times as you possibly can. And and Boohoo Man will be delighted with you. So thanks everybody for being with us tonight. Thanks a million to the lads here for allowing me to step in into and to chat to you tonight. And thanks a million, Chris, for all your insight as well.
Pleasure, mate, as always.
And thanks to producer Adam in the background too. But I think that's going to do it. As I say, Villa Leeds Wednesday. Get in front of your TV, get into your pub, get wherever you can, and get watching.
BT Sport, isn't it, or Amazon?
I think it is. Yeah. I think it's BT. On BT. Yeah. But it's going to be a rip roar. And here's to Aston Villa win. And I think until then, all that's really left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.